Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak and I want to say Shalom to Akanakwat out there pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. And I don't have a title for this one. This one's going to be based, loosely, I guess, in a way, off of a dream that I happened to have had last night that I thought was a little bit interesting. And it was really, I don't want to say it, I guess you could say parabolic. I guess it was a very parabolic dream because it was like stuff was happening that wasn't, I understood what to take from it, but that's not what was really going down in the dream. At least I don't know. It was really hard to interpret in ways. And but in short, I was there was this building, this big building. I guess it kind of looked like a, like I said, it kind of looked like a church. I don't think it was a church. I think it was like maybe like some sort of an event hall, and it was like a big brick. Let me see. Let's see. It looked like kind of like this, you know. It kind of looked like this, almost churchish, but you know, not really at the same time. And you know, like similar to like this type stuff, you know, like this is the closest that I could see. But you know, stuff like this, but without all the, you know, extra shit in it. And it was just littered, all right, with a bunch of jank, all right. It was just filled with a bunch of jank. Kind of looked like this in ways too, less worn down. But like it says, wedding hall, banquet hall. It kind of looked like this, but I don't think it was a church. I don't think it had this top or anything like that. But you know, it was just like kind of like a brick building that was more like not so a church, but the people that were in there were Christians, all right, and there were a bunch of Jakes, all right, Judah, all right. Well, I can't say Judah specifically, but northern, it's like a southern kingdom, all right. So-called Negroes, and it was a place that didn't look familiar to me, all right. It looked very East Coast style, and like when I say it was parabolic, and we'll start out by defining what a parable is. Okay. A parable in definition is a simple story used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson as told by Yahweh Shai in the Gospels. Other words would be an allegory, allegorical, all right, would be the word. A story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically a moral, political one. So that's the word I'll use better, is allegorical. It was a very allegorical dream. And at one point, you know, I was kind of like in this crowd, all right, like persons standing in crowd. It was very like this, right? But they were all like around, and I could tell. I don't know how, and I spelled crowd wrong. I know, but and I don't know how I could tell, but I just knew that like it was allegory, right? I was standing in the middle of them, and they were all around me, and I was saying stuff that was related to the truth, all right? And everyone else was like, you know, angry at me and mad at me and like, you know, hateful, and was like, not cursing, like, because, you know, Christian, but they were like, you know, ridiculing and mocking and being, you know, basically being a bunch of demons. And I don't remember what they were singing, but like, they started like chanting at me, like this chant, and I don't remember what the chant was, but they kept on chanting it. I can't remember. I wish I could, but they kept chanting. It sounded like a song, and they were chanting it over and over and over again, and chanting it and chanting it and chanting it. And I remember this, like Jake was looking into my eyes, and like I was, because he was, you could see in his eyes, he was like bugged the fuck out. And like like I said, it was allegorical. It wasn't like I wasn't going there to preach, but the allegory was that, you know, that's how this world is, you know, is one person trying to teach the truth. Well, not one person, but, you know, you as a person teach the truth are one, and everybody else is scoffing, you know, laughing and mocking and ridiculing and hating you and wanting to hurt you and do harm to you. And, you know, and you know, no matter what you do or say, you're not going to be able to pull these people out of it. All right. So that's the allegorical dream that I had, that I meant, like, that's why I call it an allegory, because the dream wasn't, oh, I didn't go there and I was trying to preach to these people, because obviously that wouldn't work. it was an allegory. It was, one person who happened to be me in the middle, telling the truth, trying to, put the truth out there, and, so Yahweh Shemi Shai's word can go out, and everybody else hating it and being turned off by it and disgusted and mocking it and hating it and, being very off-put by it. And I woke up and I was thinking about it. I said, yeah, that's really how Jake is, right? And it was a large group of people showing you that the allegory being that, look, you can teach and preach all you want at the end of the day to these people, and they're not going to be able to get it. They're going to hate you. They're going to find something wrong with it. They're not going to like something. And I think that was in there as well. I think there was something that was said, and they got even more angry about the truth. All right, because when they find out something that's true, they get even more angry. And that, it's like I said, it's an allegorical dream. Like it says, a story, a poem, or a picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically a moral or political one. This is a religious message, all right, and meaning. That means, hey, Jake is lost, all right? Just because they look like you, just because they are of the same bloodline, and just because they look like you don't make them of the bloodline, but I'm just using that, all right? Just because they look like you, or just because they're from the same bloodline, don't make them the same as you, okay? So there are people that the Lord is with, and there's people that he's not with, all right? And yes, he's against the heathen, but he's also against wicked Jakes. And there's a whole lot of wicked Jakes, man, okay? And that's the thing, you got people like IUIC that go down into the hood saying that you're not going to be able to pull those people out, man. That hood mindset, that hood rat culture is deeply ingrained, man. And they don't want to hear it, all right? Your only thing you're going to do is piss them off, right? So with that, we're going to start up the lesson, all right? And we're going to start it up with Matthew 13:13 and get it through 15, all right? In verse 13, it says, "Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand." And we'll get 14 as well. It says, "And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive." And there's a couple ways we can go about this. So really, with being, seeing they see not, so I could show them, I could get out the Holy Bible, the King James Version, and I could point them to the exact scripture. Okay, you've seen brothers, on the highways and byways do it. I mean, I've seen them do it. All right, and they'll show them, and they still won't get it. All right, because when it first comes with the hearing, right, and it's labeled differently in the scripture, right, but the way we see it happens a little bit differently, right, on when you see a brother teaching on the highways and byways, or on what happens to be on a comment board, or whenever you're telling someone, they hear it first, right, because you tell them, you say that's your mouth, right, they're hearing the words that you speak, and you say, hey, did you know that I don't know, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. Did you know you're not supposed to be eating pork? And they'll say, no, that's not the case. What are you talking about? No. So they're not hearing it. You read them, all of Leviticus, and they'll say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So you say, no, but it's right here. Look, and they'll see it, and they'll still not see it. All right, and they'll hear it, and they're not gonna understand it. So you can't get that, through them. All right, it's like trying to put you can try to put a AAA battery into an item that requires AA, and you might get a spark, but that's about it. All right, it ain't gonna be enough to power it, right? You might get a spark of interest, but then it just goes away. There's been people I've told this truth to that you see their eyes light up for a minute, and then they just drain instantly. It's like you're filling up a tub or that has a hole in it. All right, it's just draining out. It's draining out just as fast as it's going in. Okay, and like it says in verse 14, it says, "And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand." Just because you hear something doesn't mean you understand it. I always give the example of a foreign language. All right, if I was speaking to you in a language that you didn't know, all right, you would hear my words, but you wouldn't be able to understand it. You'd be like, okay, I hear him speaking, but I don't know what he's saying. All right, and if I showed you that same language written, all right, you would see it. It says, "And seeing ye shall see, and and shall not perceive. So if I showed you, you'd see it, but you wouldn't be able to comprehend it. You wouldn't be able to perceive what is being written. If it gave you instructions, say, stop looking at this book or I'm going to smack you in the back of the head, you'd still looking at it. You'd still be looking at it because you couldn't see what was going to happen. All right, and that's what happens with these people. They don't know what's going to happen. They have no idea what's coming. All right. And it's like Jaws, man. They don't know what's brewing at the bottom of the sea, man. It's coming. Dun, 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 dun. But they're just sitting there flapping around, thinking nothing's going to happen until that shark goes up and bites their ass. All right, and that shark biting their ass is going to be allegorical speaking, all right, really for Yahushua coming back and destroying these people. He's going to be the essentially the shark of the water that bites these people. Okay, but except he's not gonna be coming from an attack from below. He's gonna do an aerial attack. He's gonna be coming from above. Okay, and he ain't gonna be biting them. He's gonna be zapping them down. And you can't say that you weren't warned. All right, you were warned. You just didn't understand the warning. Okay, if I said, hey man, watch out for that puddle. All right, you're gonna trip. And then that guy happened to speak Arabic and not English. He can't blame me that I didn't warn him. I tried to warn him. All right, he just couldn't understand. Okay. You can't blame the person. They try to, hey, man, hey, get out of the way. Hey, get out of the way, dude. There's a puddle. You're going to slip in it. Hey, get. You're going to slip. Oh, you motherfucker. Why did you not warn me? It's like, well, what do you mean? I tried to warn you. You didn't hear it. You didn't understand it. All right, you had headphones in or something was going on, right? You can't blame me like I was some asshole that just tried to catch you unaware. No, I gave you a warning. I told you what was going to happen. I told you to watch out. I told you to go the other direction, and you didn't listen. So how can I be blamed, right? So it's the same thing with Yahweh Shemi Shai. How can he be blamed when he gave you multiple warnings? So what if you didn't listen to him? So what if you didn't hear him? So what if you didn't understand? So what if you didn't have the time, right? He gave you those warnings, all right? You ignored them. That's on you. You ignored them. Okay? You can't blame the Lord that he's the one that's doing it. Yeah, he gave you a warning. All right, he said, hey, if you can, it's like the things with your parents. Your dad says, don't do that again. You keep on doing that, I'm going to whoop your ass. And then you keep on doing it and get your ass whooped. You can't say that your dad was an asshole. He gave you a warning. All right, you can't say that the Most High is any type of way because, he's the one killing people. He gave you plenty of warnings, man. He gave you plenty of warnings. Okay, but you wouldn't consider yourself an asshole if someone kept coming over and fucking with you. You said, hey man, you do it again, I'm gonna knock you out. And he kept doing it. You knocked someone out. Are you an asshole for knocking that guy out? No. Why? Because you gave him plenty of warnings. All right, same reason. The Lord gave you plenty of warnings. You didn't want to hear it. You didn't want to learn from it. You didn't care. Hey, then when your death comes upon you, you can't really be upset with the Lord. You did it. This is on you. In verse 15, Matthew 13:15 says, for this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing. You know when you have a knife and it gets dull, what can't you do with it anymore? Cut. If your ears are dull, what does that mean? You can't hear anymore. You're done. It says, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. So, if, the Lord's dealing with you, at some point, you'd come out of that. Okay, but there's a lot of people that don't come out of that, and there's a lot of people that don't want to come out of that. They want to stay in that. So, you being in the middle of them and trying to help everybody, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. Okay, and they're going to hate you for it. They're going to hate you for it. All right, John 15:18. If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. You got to remember, they were killing the prophets. Okay, is it because they hated the prophets? They think it's because they hated the prophets. It's because they hated what the prophets said. If the prophet said, hey man, you can do whatever you want, you can smoke, you don't have to worship the Lord, you can sit around, you don't have to give tithes, you don't have to do nothing, as a matter of fact. You go off, cut, do what you want, cut. They would have loved them. They would have loved the prophets. All right, they wanted to kill them. But because the prophets preached Yahweh Shemi Shai's word, they hated them because really they hated the Lord. Okay, they hated the Lord. Okay, and they hated Yahweh Shai because they hated Yahweh. Okay, it's a long line of hate. They don't like order. They don't like rule. They like chaos. All right, but then they hate chaos because then they can't live right. Oh, this world is so chaotic. Well, you love it chaotic. If the world wasn't chaotic, you wouldn't be able to be smoking cigars and popping a bunch of married women. All right, you wouldn't be able to be smoking and selling dope. All right, you wouldn't be able to be listening to rap music. I roll by on that bitch, hit him with a clip. Now he think he's shit. You wouldn't be able to listen to that. That wouldn't exist. All right, because it wouldn't be chaos. You wouldn't be able to listen to that type of music. That music wouldn't exist because that's chaos music. And don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. I listen to some of that stuff from time to time. All right, but that music wouldn't exist in a perfect society. I run up on him and I ganked him. I banked it. Right. I had that Glock in my hand. I let it roll. Yeah, I spanked it. You wouldn't have that shit going on. You ain't have songs about people, coming up on getting up on a come up and doming motherfuckers. You wouldn't have that, right? Music would be like, I had everything that I need, so I stayed home. Like, you wouldn't have to have songs about growing up. It was rough. I grew up on the street. It was tough. No love, right? You wouldn't have that because you wouldn't be growing up on the street with no love. It wouldn't be tough. You wouldn't be living in a society that was rough. You wouldn't have none of that. You wouldn't have none of that. Last week I found out my bitch cheated. No, you wouldn't have that, right? Wouldn't have that either. Wouldn't have that either. The police always stay fucking with us, right? They wouldn't be fucking with you. Where would that music be, right? I think you get the point. I don't need to keep going. But where would it be? Where would it be? All right? You wouldn't have any punk music. The politicians, they hate us. The politicians wouldn't be hating you. It'd be ruled by how about you, meow, shy. Wouldn't have punk. Wouldn't have punk music. Okay? I woke up this morning, my baby left. No, wouldn't have blues. Blues would be gone. What do you got to be sad about? Wouldn't have it. Not in a perfect, non-chaotic world. All right? So, now all the music that you love, you would hate a perfect world. You would hate it. You would hate it, Jake. You love chaos. You love chaos, man. Admit it. You love it. You love chaotic behavior. You guys are like fucking moths to a goddamn flame with chaos. All right? You can see it with Jake. Anytime shit starts popping, who starts gathering around? You'll see the Edomites a little bit. The Edomites get a little scary. All right. Oh, we need to get out of here. Larry, we need to go. Larry. Come on, go. Let's get. Right? The Edomite man is a little bit more drawn to weird shit going on in event like fights and stuff. The Edomite women are very scared. Come on, we got to get out of here, right? We got to get out of here. Well, at least the older ones, the young kids, all these young kids, they're all. It doesn't matter whether you're black, brown, yellow. All right, it don't matter. All right, so-called black, brown, yellow, but it don't matter what you are. With these young kids, this new generation, man, they're destroyed. They don't care. They all of them crave chaos to an extreme. All right, the women, all right, the men, don't matter if you're black, brown, green, or purple. They're all like, fuck them up, right? And they'll all just it's stabbing each other, shooting each other up. It's crazy. All right, these kids are crazy. They have more guns coming to school than ever. Right? These kids are nuts. And yeah, man. So. This state is crazy, but Jake is like a moth to a flame with chaos. All right, they love chaotic situations. All right, Jake, here it is, Jake the chosen people, and they like being in the worst situations, going to shit like house parties. I've never heard of one good thing come of a house party ever. I've never heard, man, I sure am glad I went to that house party and everything went well, and there was no drama. I didn't get into any fights. I didn't drink too much. And there's no drama at all. Not one bit. No, man. You go to those places, it's all drama. So-and-so has a fucking beef with so-and-so, and then his shows up, and then that's his baby mama, and he doesn't like that, and that's his new girl, but his old girl was there, so now she's got a problem, but she's with her new man, and she's gonna get him to go and kick your ass because you were there. Meanwhile, on top of that, the dudes in the kitchen, so drunk, falling down, fucking up all this shit. Why would you want that? All right? Why would you want that? Your best friend comes over and you see her getting with your friend, and now for you women, you see her getting with your friend, you see her getting with the guy that you like, and you're jealous because you liked him and she betrayed your trust, so now you're mad at her, right? And it's why would you want that? That's just chaos. It's chaos grounds. All right, it's breeding grounds for chaos. Okay. So that's why you hate us, is because you hate the Lord. And when we preach the word, you hate it because you don't want. Really, preaching the word is ushering in the end of this world and the birth of a new world. All right, how's it go in Matthew 24? And then shall the end come? Shall be made. Shall be made witness for all the nations. Here it is. Matthew 24:14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. And so every time you're preaching, you're ushering in the end, because that's one of the prophecies that has to happen. Matthew 24 is a chapter of prophecy, okay? And then the end shall come after you prophesy those things. So you hate it, one, because you hate the Lord, and you also hate any time preaching is done, because we're ushering in the end of this world, okay, by doing that. And you don't want this world to end. You want it to continue, okay? You want it to continue. All right, if this was a fucking arcade game, you'd put more quarters in to have more continues. All right, to have more runs. All right, you keep on press and play if you could. All right, but unfortunately the machine's about to break, and you're actually gonna have to get off of it. All right, so Romans 11:7-8, it says, "What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded." So these jakes are blind, man. They don't know what's going on. They have no idea what's going on. And even if you offered them a free, a Willy Wonka ticket, like a golden ticket to this truth, and you say, you can take this right now. All right, you can trade me that blunt, and I'll take that and throw it away, and I'll give you this golden ticket to salvation. Jake say, I don't need that shit. But if I give you this ticket, you can't smoke, right? You can't, go and be drinking excessively in the spirit of mirth. All right, you can't be getting with other dudes' wives. All right, you can't be doing homosexual shit. You can't eat seafood or any of those seafood boils. No shrimps. All right, no raw foods. That means no more sushi, no more. All right, you can't smoke dope. You can't pop pills. None of that. And they'd say, "Oh, all right, man, oh, and you got to teach." They say, "I ain't doing none of that shit, man. Give me back my blunt." Right? They would. Absolutely, they would. All right, and that could be 100% guaranteed salvation in that ticket. They'd still say, "I don't want that shit." All right, but they'll call the truth shit, but they'll call a blunt fun. All right, I love weed, but you hate the truth. Verse 8 says, "According as it is written, Yahweh hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should see, and ears that eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, unto this day." So they don't care. The election is the only one that's going to get it. The rest are 2/3. All right, and 2/3 have to be cut off. All right, 2/3 of my people. Why? Because they're wicked. Okay. Zechariah 13:8 says, "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the 3rd part shall be left therein." So it doesn't say my people, but it proves that's my people, his people in the next verse. It says, "And I will bring the 3rd part," that's the 1/3, the elect, "through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my power." There you go. So, and that's only for Israel, all right? And salvation's only for Israel, all right? But Romans 9:6, "Not as though the word of Yahweh had taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel." Now tell me, what does this mean? For they are not all Israel which are of Israel. Okay? It's just like it's like if you said not all humans are human. You say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, what does that mean? Not all humans are human. What is human? Humanity. All right, not all humans have humanity. Okay, like Esau, they're not even, they're subhuman. Okay, they don't have humanity. They're loveless. They're vile. They're degenerate beings. Okay, that's not human. All right, they're human by definition, but not by nature. Okay, so what's being said here, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel, is just because they are Israelites doesn't mean they're acting like an Israelite should. All right, they're not upholding the values that Israel should uphold. All right, which is the truth through Yahweh Shem Shai. They're not keeping his laws. They're not in the right mindset that an Israelite should be in. Sure, they're of the bloodline, but they're not of the mindset. They're not of the spirituality. All right, they're only Israelites by blood, and by no other means are they Israelites. Okay, so it's like I said with Esau, they're human by name, but these people don't act human. All right, they don't help. All right, they don't love. All right, they're evil. They're degenerate. Okay, So same thing with Israel. They're not all of Israel, all right? For they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. Just because you're an Israelite doesn't mean that's a fast pass, quick stop to salvation. No, you have to be a part of the elect, the 1/3. But a lot of these jakes aren't, all right? Now, there's some that can be acting like that, smoking blunt. Some of us were there, and they can be pulled out of that spirit. They can, Lord, like it says, the Lord is able to pull them out of that. He's able to take that spirit of slumber off of these people and wake them up. But that's not going to be everyone. That's going to be a smaller number, all right? Because a lot of people don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. They don't care, okay? So the Lord is not going to wake a lot of people up like that. I mean, in the grand scale of things, there are a lot of people that are waking up, but not as many as the people that are either heathens, which can't wake up, or Jake that are just going to stay asleep. Okay, mind you, 2/3 is a bigger quadrant than 1/3. Okay, so put that in there. So there's going to be more people that aren't saved than are. Okay, because you got the heathens, they can't be saved. That's Esau, all the other nations. You know, the so-called Asians, the so-called Arabs, the so-called Middle East Indians, right? You have the so-called white man, the so-called Jewish people. All right, you got the so-called Africans. All right, none of those guys are gonna be saved. I probably forgot some, but none of those guys are gonna be saved. And then you got Jake, and only 1/3 of them are gonna be saved. So only 1/3 of anybody in the world, right? 1/3 of anybody in the world that's Israel. Okay, well, I could say 1/3 of a small number is the only thing in the whole world that's going to be saved, because it's 1/3 of Israel. Out of everything else, on 1/3 of Israel is going to be saved. So that's a smaller number, okay? Considering that 2/3 of Israel got to go, that's already a bigger quadrant than the 1/3 of in just Israel. Then you got to realize all the heathens got to go. All right, and just because not all of the heathens are going to be put to death, all right, some of them are going to be, mostly, the billionaires, and some of them, they're going to be set aside, not saved, all right, because, I don't say, he's going to save someone. He's not going to save anybody. Save is salvation. He's going to set aside some of the Edomites, and perhaps some of the other heathens, to be the first captives in the kingdom, okay? So, but that's not a salvation. You're just reserved. Okay, that's a better word. He's gonna reserve some of the Edomites. Okay, they're gonna be placed into a reserve, okay, for servants and handmaids, as the scriptures say, servants and handmaids. And you shall take them as servants and handmaids. Okay? So, roughly paraphrasing. So yeah, man, this is 2 Thessalonians 2:10. You can look that up. Just type in servants and handmaids KJV and you'll see it. It talks about Babylon, really the Babylon's fall and them being joined to us. All right. And they shall be given to us for servants and handmaids. And that's not the only scripture or chapter that even talks about that. There's a few, but not that you'd like them or understand them anyway, as the point of this lesson. So 2 Thessalonians 2:10 through 12, it says, "And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause Yahweh shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, whether that lie be the Christian church." And they think, no, God and Jesus Christ wouldn't do that. You're right. God and Jesus Christ wouldn't do that. I believe you 100%. And I will go out of my way and agree with you, actually, that God and Jesus Christ would never do that. And that's because God and Jesus Christ are false idols, gods, all right, false gods that we're not talking about that, all right? God, what is God? God's name is God? He's a God, but his name is God? He has a name, okay? He has a name. Even the Jewish people know that, but usually, it's God. Don't talk bad about God. Which one? Buddha? The God of the Bible? All right? Which the Allah? The God of the Islams? All right? Which God are we talking about? Who? Which God? That's a name. God is a title, not a name. All right? The person whose name looks like this in the Bible, God, his name is Yahweh. Okay, and he's a so-called black man. Okay, and his son's name that reads Jesus in the Bible, all right, his real name is Yahweh Shai. Okay, but God and Jesus Christ, why those names are in the Bible, they've been built up into idols. Okay, they've been built up into idols. If you go to Revelation, Always get it confused. Or is it 19? The 1 and 14. Oh, I was thinking of just Revelations. The chat. Okay. All right. Slakia. Revelation 1 and 14. 1 and 14. 1 and 14. I got to remember that. I always get confused where this is. But if I go and look. So this is talking about. All right. If I see right here. AI overview should talk about it. Talk about that, how it should say, oh, that's Jesus. Okay. You know, his head and his hair white like wool or snow, symbolizing eternity. No. Wool doesn't mean eternity. There we go. That's what I was looking for. John is describing how he came to receive this revelation from Jesus Christ, as in their words, right? Revelation 1 and 12. Who is mentioned in Revelation 1 and 14? Revelation 1 and 14 mentions Jesus Christ in a vision. Okay? Oh, look at that. Look at that, brothers. Look at that. Look, that's great. Call all Yahweh Shemiah Shai. Look. That's great. That's great. Look at this. I gotta take a screenshot of that. 1 minute. And if you can't, get to, look at your phone screen or a computer screen right now, what I said, was praising the Lord for is that with the AI overview, sometimes they pull random photos. When I put in who is mentioned in Revelation 1 and 14, they have a picture, all right, of a depiction of how the Lord actually would look like. Similar, a closer representation of how he would actually look like. Look at that, all these pictures of Yahweh Shai coming up. Look at that. See? Call all Yahweh Shemiah Shai. There you go. So if you go and look at that, see, that I didn't even have to look it up. Call all Yahweh Shemiah Shai. I don't even have to look it up. Let's go look up Jesus Christ, though, real quick. Huh. It's a little different. Wait a minute. No, well, maybe this is the real guy. Maybe this Jesus guy is the real guy. Let's go see. Let's make sure. Let's make sure. We wouldn't want to do anything wrong, right? We wouldn't want to do anything right. We wouldn't want to make sure we're doing things. We'd want to make sure we were not doing things wrong. So let's see. So it already said that Revelation 1 and 14 speaking about who they call Jesus Christ. So let's see if it adds up with Jesus Christ or if it adds up with Yahweh Shai. We'll see. We'll see it in a minute. So Revelation 1 and 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. So he's got eyes that were a flame of fire. So what eyes were as a flame of fire? What color of eyes would be? Bright red or crimson, orange or amber. Okay, so red, crimson, or amber. Those are blue. Let's go check Yahweh Shai. Let's go see. We can just get any of these pictures. Any of them will be. Any of these will do. Let's see if I can get a high resolution one. Okay. So red eyes. Okay. Ding, ding, ding. So far, one against Jesus. Okay, now it's what about the hair? His head and his hairs were white like wool. Oh, well, his hair's light brown. What? Oh, his hair's white like wool, and it's woolly just like wool. All right, so let's continue on. And his feet like into fine brass, as if they burn in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Oh, this guy isn't really. I don't know. Well, I don't know what bronze looks like. What is bronze? What does bronze look? Well, that's quite interesting. Maybe the Middle Eastern depiction. Huh. Well, that's quite concerning. Well, let's go look at Yahushua. Oh. So another win. So, why the name Jesus is in the Bible, it's an incorrect Greek translation, mind you. His real name in Hebrew, you can tell it just by looking it up. You know, he has a name that's not Jesus. It's Yahushua, okay? And he's mentioned, Jesus, quote unquote, is mentioned in 1 and 14, all right? Revelation 1 and 14. And that name, when you look it up, right here, you know, when people are always talking about Jesus, yeah, that name's in the Bible, but it's an incorrect translation that was put in, okay, for his name. Okay, because, you know, it was the New Testament is in Greek, so they didn't use his Hebrew name, they used Greek, all right? And he wasn't Greek, okay? So his name couldn't have been Jesus, and the J wasn't existing until the 1500s, so it couldn't be that again. Again, it couldn't be that. So in none of the imagery that was described in Revelation 1 and 15 matches this Jesus character, but it matches up 100% with Yahushua. So, you know, that you've had a strong delusion, okay, that's been sent your way, whether you're a Jesus freak or an atheist, okay? Verse 11, back in 2 Thessalonians 2, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 11 says, "And for this cause, Yahweh, not God, shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness." And that's what you do. You have pleasure in unrighteousness, okay? And you don't want to hear it. You hate these lessons. A lot of you guys already clicked. You heard, oh, hey, Shalom, all praise to Yahweh, Shem Yahushua, and you went, fuck this, I'm out. Nope, not going here. I'm going to watch something else. All right? That's what you did. All right? You click it, you go, nope. And I know, you want to know how I know you do it? Because I can fucking prove it. I can fucking prove it. I'll do it right now. And I know that's how you guys do it, because as a person that's on YouTube, I have analytics, buddy. I have analytics. Okay? So let's go to my analytics. And I know it's called a click-through rate. Okay? And I guarantee you, any brother that's out there, you know, that wants to, you know, that sees this, I think it would be extremely edifying, you know, to continue on in a way. And I can't put out a decree like the apostles do, but I think it would be a great thing, you know, to continue on with how Jake can't get it, and then go to your analytics and show you the click-through rate, man. See, like, how much is actually watched the lesson. You know, my wife accounts for almost like 100% of all my watch time, okay? But, you know, if I get 87 views, you know, even if I get 87 views, you can see it already, right? Not your click-through rate. Well, there's a click-through rate as well, but all you have to do is look up average view duration. How often, you know, my wife doesn't account for the average view, all right? She's not the average view. She watches the lessons from start to finish. But the average view, let's see, one of my most popular, well, this is recently, all right? 87 views. The average view duration, 2 minutes. Okay? 2 minutes. Okay? Right here. Average view duration, 1 minute and 55 seconds. All right? 4.3% of the video. Here's another one. 9.27 minutes was the average viewing duration. Okay? Look at these, man. Look at these. And my lessons are, you know, they're usually around an hour. And if I go to my, let's see. How do I... see. Yeah, click-through rate is also impressions. It says views and per impression shown. When they see your video, how likely is someone likely to click on it? In total, and I've been on YouTube since, what? 2020? Is that what it's saying? No. Around 2020. 5 years, I guess. I think. No. I could tell you. That's the first lesson I made. April 23rd of 2020. All right. So, my lifetime of my channel's lifetime, the amount of impressions that people actually click on after seeing a video and be like, oh, the Holy Trinity's bugged out, or oh, stop arguing with cops, Jake, or oh, these Christians now be on the same. 1% of people actually clicked on it. Okay, and I'm not, so you don't have to watch my videos. I'm just saying, I'm just using me as the example because I'm the only example I can give. And I know other brothers like that, that have the same thing going on. You have a lot more people. They'll probably get a lot more view time than me. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if their watch time is that the average watch time on a video goes down to is just in lower numbers. All right, then it should be. Then their lesson is, if their lesson is 2 hours, I bet they watched no more than probably 30% of the lesson. And I can guarantee it, and I can guarantee, and I'd be willing to bet money, all right, that even the apostles and the brothers with bigger channels like Elder Manat the Zatba have a similar thing going on. And the reason I said I'd be willing to bet money is because from time and time again, we see it. We'll see a brother make a lesson and like, explaining, breaking down comments on, how, why do you have to keep the Sabbath? All right. And some dumbass, so why do we have to keep the Sabbath? Well, did you even watch the video? Look at the title of the video, How to Keep the Sabbath. They're saying, well, how do we know it's Sunday? So how do we know it's not Friday sundown to Saturday sundown? How do we know? Well, he just explained how you do it. Well, is it the same calendar? Do we use the same calendar? He would have talked about that in the video. What can we do on Sabbath? He probably would have mentioned that as well. All right, watch the lesson. Watch the lesson. What's the point of going into college? All right, this is really interesting. I'm gonna sit down. Oh, I'm gonna leave. I don't know, Jake. Enough to give a fucking person a goddamn aneurysm. But anyway, Proverbs 1:24 and 1:28. Because you're like this, Jake, here you go. Verse 24. Because I have called and you refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded, but ye have set at naught. Naught means nothing. All right, it says, ye have set at naught all my counsel and would none of my reproof. So you made all of the Lord's counsel nothing. You took it as nothingness, right? Verse 26. Because you did this, verse 26. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. Now, I know a lot of you people would quick to call the Lord a jerk again, all right, or some either even worse term, but here's the thing. If you kept on warning someone, hey man, don't walk in that puddle, don't walk in that puddle, don't walk in that puddle, motherfuck you, man, you motherfucker, motherfuck you, and they turn around, and when they turn around, they slip and they fell and bust their ass in that puddle, would you be wrong to laugh? Would you be wrong to laugh? You wouldn't be wrong to laugh. You warned them, and they acted like a jackass, and it bit them in the ass, so you wouldn't be wrong to laugh. You're like, look at that guy. Try to warn him, So, I would have trusted you if you would have just told me where the puddle was. I did tell you where the puddle was. No, you didn't. Yeah, okay. All right, buddy. All right, and that's what these people are gonna do. They're gonna say, I didn't know, Lord. I didn't know. Please, Lord. What's your name? I'll call upon you right now. Please, let me know your name, please, Lord. No. He's not gonna do it. You had a chance, and you didn't care. Okay, and for you new brothers in this truth, and you sisters as well. Really, you shouldn't be preaching, like, well, you can't preach online, but, you know, even getting excited to try to tell your family, really, you know, I don't know. You know, if it's a female, you know, maybe. If it's a male, go ahead and just direct him to the videos. Okay. So female, you can tell her about it, you know. But with men, you know, go really just try to direct the men to the lessons. All right, the videos. All right, and of GMS. All right, like I said, I'm not in GMS. I'd just be considered affiliate. I still, you know, try to build up the house of David as they do. But you know, for safety, I'll always go to GMS, because not every affiliate, you know, some affiliates might have ulterior motives. All right, I can rightfully say I'm not one, but how do you know? How do you know, right? You have to you know, make well after you're going. You have to really make sure. All right, and if you watch my lessons, you would know. But if it's your first time, how do you know I'm a reputable person, right? You have to watch. All right, and GMS has built up a good reputation. So, you know, they make sure if you have that GMS name, all right, that they're watching their brothers. Because they have a reputation for no bullshit. All right, it's the truth and nothing else. All right, and being that affiliates aren't necessarily moderated, I mean, unless you're like taking the moderation from, you know, GMS, as, you know, you follow the same rules as I do. You know, it was a lesson 3 days a week. It was. And then the apostle put out the decree, said every brother in GMS needs to make a lesson every single day. And I said, I'm gonna make a lesson every single day, right? So I don't know all the ins and outs, because of course, you know, I'm not in the group chats like they are. But anything that I hear, I try to follow. So that's the way I go with it. But yeah, man, just stay with GMS to be safe. All right, not that there's anything wrong with the affiliates, but, you know, there's some good ones of us, but there's some ones that, you know, they're affiliated, but are they making lessons all the time? Are they really moderated? Are they saying wrong stuff? So, like I said, if I ever say anything wrong, I try to correct it. But who knows, for some people, they might not. All right, GMS being moderated like that, they say, hey, man, you need to take that lesson down, right? But we don't have that type of moderation if you're not in GMS. So, you know, just be careful. Just be careful. Not saying I'm an affiliate, so I can't say the affiliates are bad, but, you know, it's just like there's some good and some bad. You know, there's probably some people out there that, you know, they start teaching like GMS and they're affiliated GMS, and then some weird stuff starts creeping in. So just be careful. All right, just a warning. But yeah, man. So that's the lesson. But yeah, for you new ones in the truth, you youngins in the truth. All right, I'm still a youngin in this truth, but, you know, the ones that are just waking up, you know, don't let that zeal get you in a bad situation. Here it is, you know, you're telling your boss, and your boss, he's gonna fire your ass because he doesn't like what you say, or, you know, you're trying to force, you know, your ghetto cousins to get it. You can't force no one to understand the truth. All right, you can't make someone get it. This is freely given, freely have you received. Freely you have received, freely give. Right, roughly paraphrasing. So you can't force it down their throat and say, get it, understand it. No. Right, you got this for free. All right, nobody had to force it on you. All right, you just got it. Okay, but not everyone's gonna be like you. Okay, remember that. So that's where we're gonna close out. All right, Lord, what was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Rakakudash. I want to say shalom to brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing. Shalom.